y'all, it's Betsy from Cutting Corners Vinyl. And over here I like to focus on all things vinyl, sublimation, and screen printing. And if that sounds like something you're into, then why don't you stay a while and think about joining the Cutting Corners family. So today we have an important video. We're going to talk about how to price. But before we jump into it, I did want to say, if you hear any weird heavy breathing, I have my Layla bug in my lap. Don't know if you can see her. Let's lift her up so you can see. She's right here. And then Shadow's down at my feet. If you hear any kind of weird sounds, he's been chewing on the wheel of my chair. So that's what it is. You do not need to lick me in the face. But let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okie dokie. So, let me preface this by saying I'm going to leave in more of my mistakes. People miss my blunders because I am known for my honesty, and you know, everybody makes mistakes. And my epilepsy medication brain, I guess, people miss my charm. Now, some of the things I say in this might irritate you or piss you off, but it is what it is. I like to be blunt, and you know, this is an important conversation to be had because, you know, some people like to try to undercut so they can get all the business, but all it ends up doing is hurting everybody else. So let's jump into it. One of the biggest things we're going to talk about is when you're selling, you need to price fairly. That's a big thing. So number one, don't try to be the cheapest. You only hurt everyone, and that's including yourself. Number two, this is for my crafters out there. A lot of you love making things, and I completely understand this, and I hear this all the time. I only charge for materials. You do this because you love to. But when you do this, you're taking jobs from people who are doing this because they're doing it as their job and they need to make money. And you're pricing them out of the market. So, if you're not going to do it for a profit, then it's better not to do it at all. This isn't to offend anybody, or keep it to your friends and family only. Hopefully this makes sense, but if you're going to sell at those types of prices, then don't sell to the outside world. And the reason why I say this is because, again, there are people out there that need the money to be able to feed their children. They are doing this as their job. This may be the only way that they work. And if you are doing it and taking these jobs just to keep yourself from being bored, then don't. I'm putting it bluntly. I'm not doing it to hurt anybody's feelings. But I have heard that excuse a lot. And I want people to think about it that way. Because sometimes you've got a parent who has like an autistic child who can't go to work any other way. So they have to do this at home. So sometimes you've got to stop and think about it that way. So when you're pricing them out of the market, you're hurting them. This is just me being as blunt and as fair as possible. So make sure, don't price it just as materials. Again, if you want to do it as a hobby, that's perfectly fine. But price it fairly or do it for just your friends and family. Do not bring it and advertise it on Facebook. Don't do it on Etsy. You see what I'm saying? Don't. Please don't. You kill the market that way. Hopefully that makes sense. Number 3. The fast, cheap, and good rule, where you can only pick 2, which is if you want good and cheap, it won't be fast. If you want fast and good, it won't be cheap. If you want cheap and fast, it won't be good. I mean, there's no other way around it. You can't have it all. And if somebody's giving you all that, they're not going to make it in business. It just doesn't happen that way. And part of the problem right now with a lot of small businesses, and I'm seeing it every which way I look, is we have all, a lot of us, we end up trying to compete with big business and then we end up closing. Or we work ourselves to the bone and then stuff happens and it's like, why are we continuing to work ourselves to the bone? Is it worth it anymore? For me, it wasn't. So that's part of it. And you have to factor that into what you pay for. You know, I have been in this business for a long time. There have been plenty of times, like we've made big signs for so many companies, made huge orders of screen printed shirts. There have been plenty of times where we went and redone $10,000 sign jobs or shirt jobs because somebody wanted it fast and cheap. And it wasn't good. But that's how you live and learn. And that is part of it. And you, as a business owner, need to learn the word no. Don't sacrifice your business to get a customer. It's not worth it. The money isn't worth it because they will continue to use you, and they will tell another business owner, or maybe they won't. Because the thing is with businesses, or with customers in general, a bad review will travel 10,000 times faster than a good review. No one talks about if you've done something amazing, but if somehow a mistake happens, it travels so fast. So keep that in mind. But those are some of the talking points to kind of remember when you're going into the pricing process. Now we're going to go into a little bit more in depth over the pricing process. Now, one of the big things that we're talking about with this is custom work. We're not talking retail work. This is custom work. So whenever we're talking pricing for this is going to be more expensive than whenever you're talking about like a shirt sold at Spencer's, or why did I say Spencer's? Why is that the first store that popped into my mind? I don't know. I don't even shop at Spencer's. Does that happen to anybody else where it's like the most random thing just like comes into your head? I don't even know. Okay. Why are you looking at me like that? Were you the reason why Spencer's popped into my head? Huh? I look like I'm talking to myself, don't I? It's okay. having a pretty good brain day for the most part today. That happens from time to time. Anyways, you're a wiggle butt. You're a wiggle butt. Don't throw up on me. You can just see her nose barely poking through. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to price now. So, first off, we've got fixed costs. Now, if you're working from home, a lot of you aren't going to even consider what fixed costs are. And I know, as I said, a lot of people aren't. Now, when you go to do your taxes, if you actually make a profit or you claim income, which you should, if you file things correctly, you should do this. Did I finish even talking about the custom stuff? Okay. Back up, Betsy. This is brain stuff. Okay, so this is not mass-produced stuff. We're talking about custom items. Even if you're doing wholesale items, this is still considered custom work. So even if you're doing screen printed items where you're doing a bulk order, this is still custom. Or even a big sign, custom. Whenever we're talking retail work, it is making 12 shirts that you're going to sell that are already done. That people don't come in and pick and choose what they're getting. Whenever you're doing custom work, whether it be for screen printing, signs, they're going to tell you what they want. And you order product and you make it for them. So that is the difference. So hopefully this makes sense. So let's jump into it. So first off, you're going to have your fixed cost. And this typically comes into play like if you have a dedicated office space at your home or you're renting a location. So when I talk about like a dedicated office space at home, that would be your fixed cost would include like if you have to have a phone line, if you have a website, if you have, say you have like a she shed, or if you have to rent a storage building. Those types of things. If you have a retail store, even if you're doing custom work, sometimes you have to have a retail location for custom or a storefront so people can come in and place orders. Sometimes you have to have a larger shop to be able to do your custom things in. So that would be your fixed cost. For this video, I'm not going to really get into how to figure out fixed cost because for everybody that's going to be different. And for a lot of people starting off in business, you're not going to figure that into your item cost. Because whether you make one item or 10,000 items, those costs are the same. I shouldn't have said this was a good brain day. And especially if you're starting off, you're not going to want to figure that out because if you have a $1,000 a month rent and you've only sold one item, you can't charge $1,000 for a shirt to pay your rent. Hopefully that makes sense. But there are lots of calculators out there to once your business gets stable to figure out those costs. To be able to figure out your profit and loss. But QuickBooks is what I use for my bookkeeping software. Shadow. He's got gas. He's always got gas. He stinks. But there are other bookkeeping software. If you're really good with record keeping, you can use like Microsoft Excel. I'm not that great with it. And with Mac, you can use numbers. The one good thing about Mac, which is what I use, their like Microsoft style office programs are free. Just to let you know. Okay. Next up. This is the one that we're probably going to, this is what we focus on most in the slideshow that will come up. And this is the variable price. So this is the expenses that change. So this is what you're going to focus on mainly if you're doing this out of your house or you're doing the custom stuff and this is what you're selling like on Etsy. You make shirts and sell them through Facebook, that kind of thing. But these are the expenses that change, such as quantity discounts on shirts and vinyl. So like if you're ordering in bulk from Jiffy Shirts or whoever, the more you order, the cheaper they get. So the things that you have to remember for these are the cost of materials. So when I talk about that is like to make a shirt, what goes into it? So the shirt itself, the vinyl, like if you're doing sublimation, you would consider the sublimation paper, the shirt, the ink, those types of things. Then you're going to consider your production time. Now, for your production time, it's not just the production time itself. It's how long does it take you to make it? How long does it take you to design it? But it also includes what you need to make an hour. So many times, people forget to pay themselves. You need to pay yourself. You need to make money. And you need to make more than minimum wage. Minimum wage is not a living wage. I don't care what anybody says, minimum wage is not a living wage. If you cannot afford to rent an apartment by yourself on a minimum wage, if you work full-time on a minimum wage and you are by yourself, if you cannot feed yourself on minimum wage, then it is not a living wage. Sorry, not sorry. So you need to add that into it. So that would be however long it takes you to make it, your salary, and you divide the salary divided by how long. So if it takes you 30 minutes to make it, so you'd take 30 and divide that by your salary. So you want to make $15 an hour, so you take 30 and divide it by 15, so that would you would make $7.50 for 30 minutes worth of work. So it's really not that much money. Then you would take into account all the other incidentals, which depending on how you sell, there can be a lot. So whenever we do the calculator, I'll do it as miscellaneous cost, but we'll kind of go over what they could be. So that could be promotional materials, such as like if you advertise on Facebook, if you print out business cards, if you make flyers and leave them at other businesses, those types of things. Shipping cost, if you do any type of affiliate marketing. So if you let people promote things like on Instagram and you give them a discount code and you pay them for it, because lots of businesses do that now. If you do any website hosting, like if you pay for your own website, or even if you host, like sell through Etsy, you have fees to pay. Credit card fees, like PayPal fees, all that kind of things. So those are like all your incidentals. shipping labels, ink cost. There's a lot of things like that in it. But again, those are variable cost because it depends on how much you sell is how much those are going to cost. Did you hear my shoulder pop? So you add all those kinds of things up, you will know by how much you're spending. And you'll be able to kind of guesstimate off of what you've done before. Will kind of tell you what goes into each item you sell. So hopefully that makes sense. And then last but not least, for pricing custom items or how to price is your profit margins. So how much you want to make. And typically that's around 50% markup. So if you've got $16 in a shirt, you would have $8 worth of markup. You don't want to be like pharmaceutical companies and have 1,000% markup. I mean, maybe you do, but that's kind of a butthole move. So, give me a second and we will swap over to the slideshow and I will go over exactly and show you with pictures. We're going to do a picture book because I got to get these lights off my eyes because maybe that'll make me function better. I will show you exactly what I mean by all these things I just said. Let's go into our example. We're going to use a blank shirt, which typically runs around $2, $2.65. This is an average price for a good shirt. Now, this does not include tax because we're going off the wholesale market. Then we're going to include $3 for vinyl. Now that can give or take depending on how much you're using. If you're using like a glitter or something that is a more expensive vinyl, again, it just kind of depends. This is kind of like an average price across the board. Now we're looking at production time, which is give or take 30 minutes. I am including an hourly wage of $15 an hour. So if it is 30 minutes with my hourly wage of $15, it would be $7.50 would be my cost. And then I'm also including a miscellaneous cost of $3.23. So that would be like ink cost, labels, anything like that that would be included. So my total cost to make this shirt would be $16.38. Now that's before any markup added to it at all. So that's not terrible. And then I do want to add in my 50% markup. So that would be $8.19 because that's going to give me some profit. Because if I'm not making profit, we want to have profit to be able to buy new equipment, to be able to invest back into our business. So the grand total for this shirt would be $24.57. That is not a bad price for a fully customized shirt. And that's what you got to remember. It is a customized shirt. People need to quit expecting custom items for retail prices. Let me say that again. People need to quit expecting custom items for retail prices. Custom requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy. And you should get paid fairly for your work. And if not, you shouldn't have to do it. You should not lower your standards to make a penny. That's not how this works. But hopefully this guide, this kind of step-by-step, was helpful for you. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I will answer them to the best of my ability. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and do that. I would love for you to join the Cutting Corners family. But I guess that's it, and we will see y'all in the next one.